We get the answers to many of Model 3's remaining questions. Model S and Model X pick up a Model 3 feature. Another loss in Connecticut. Canada gets its first Model 3 deliveries, and Roadster test drives will begin next year. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 402 for May 14th, 2018. It's a packed show today, so I want to get right to it, but first I want to give a shout out to all the mothers and mothers-to-be in the audience, hoping you had a very happy Mother's Day. With that said, let's take to Twitter, where Ride the Lightning host Ryan McCaffrey finally got an answer to a question he's been a bulldog in persistently asking Elon about on Twitter. I'll let the quote tweets speak for themselves here. Quote, Elon, any chance we can get an update on dual motor and performance Model 3 pricing and specs? Air suspension as well if you're in an extra good mood, end quote. Elon replied, quote, Tesla will enable orders end of next week for dual motor, all-wheel drive, and performance, starting production of those in July. Air suspension prob next year, end quote. Twitter user @AnthonyFoltz jumped into the fray, hoping to get an answer to another long-asked question about when the white interior would come. After initially being rebuffed, Ryan came back again to get a twofer in one thread. Quote, well, I suppose that's a no on white interior coming up anytime soon. I understand the logic, but it's disappointing, given not only how gorgeous the Ultra White is, but also that it was originally scheduled for fall 2017. You and your team's hard work is always appreciated, end quote. Elon felt benevolent and responded, quote, all-wheel drive and white interior in July. Air suspension probably later. Note, that's when we start making them. Can't instantly fill all orders. Will take 6+ months to do so, end quote. A quick note on the timing of this thread, as since it happened last week, that means we'll see the orders open at the end of this week, assuming no Elon time, which is always a bad assumption, so we'll see what we get. So the only thing left to know really is pricing, and we should get the answer to that once the design studio lets reservation holders configure it. Next up, sticking with Twitter for a story that I theorized on long ago and could swear I'd recorded, but I've searched through the proper shows and can't seem to find when I talked about this. Maybe it was from a Tidbits from the road. Anyway, that feature is the idea that Model S and Model X could someday have the phone key in the same way that Model 3 does now. When I talked about this, I remember saying at the time that the key is that if all the cars implemented Bluetooth Low Energy or not, which was no guarantee on the very early models. And yet another example of Tesla adding value to their cars long after the sale, it seems that this is indeed the case, and that feature is coming. In a few tweet-long discussions started by @Josh1C asking if the feature could be brought to the Model 3's older siblings, Elon first just answered that it would be coming, and then when asked about older cars, Elon finished saying, quote, this will work on the entire S and X fleet, even first production units. Cool thing about software upgrades is that we can keep making your car better long after you bought it, end quote. With that statement, Elon made a dream come true for me in that I now have no need to carry a key out of my house with me. Wallet? Phone? That's it. Less clutter is awesome, so thank you very much, Tesla. After some great news to start the show, we have to sandwich in a downer, unfortunately. Electrek reports to us that, yet again, Connecticut has shut down a bill that would see the legal sale of Teslas direct to consumers in the state. For the fourth straight year, the bill has failed to pass, and this year, the same as last year, the bill failed to come to a vote in the full legislature despite passing committee votes. I would suspect that Tesla will be back again in the next legislative session, and maybe somehow someone can force a full vote for once. It's super frustrating for would-be Connecticut Tesla owners, as this is clearly politicking, as the article notes that the politicians wanted the Dealers Association to come to an agreement with Tesla before voting on the bill. On to some better news, as Trevor from Model 3 Owners Club gets us some video from the very first Canadian delivery of a Model 3. Trevor got a message from Steve, one of his followers, letting him know that he was taking delivery and asked if he wanted to tag along to film it. Who says no to that, right? A gorgeous multi-coat red model, Steve picks up his new baby, shows off its massive trunk, and even lets Paul Rzuski from the Toronto Electric Vehicle Association drive it off the property at the end of the video. All of our Canadian friends can celebrate along with him, as Model 3 has now officially arrived in Canada. Lastly today, we head back to Twitter one more time for a surprise announcement about the new Roadster. A native of Turkey, @Isa asked Elon, quote, when will we be able to make a test drive for Roadsters? I came to California from Turkey to test and to be one of the founders of the Roadster, but no luck, end quote. Turkish fans got a twofer on this one, as Elon responded, quote, "Towards the end of next year. By the way, planning to launch Tesla in Turkey later this year. Love your country and will be there in person for the launch," end quote. So, those of you that plunked down cash for the new Roadster, you might get a crack at it at the end of 2019. Can't wait to see these guys finally hitting the streets. Unlike Model 3 by that time, seeing any Roadster, new or otherwise, will truly be a rare occurrence. You can check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're doing that, please consider supporting the show financially through Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. Thanks very much to our super patrons out there supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are John Waltower, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Bruno Kundici, Joey Boots, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Adam Raymer Brown, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, Todd Sullivan, Robert Healy, Mitch Long, and Zortec LED Canada. If you can't support with dollars, be sure to show your love with positive reviews and subscriptions on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet. That's it for today's episode. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. I'll see everyone back here again tomorrow. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.